Okay. I think that's the new president. Yes, right. Love you. More. Say goodbye, Melissa. Say I love you. Call me when you get home. I will. 6:30, so 9:30. Mm-hmm. 283185. Mm-hmm.
Hey everyone, this is Jamie Evans, the training committee chair. We'll get started here in just a few minutes. Don't forget to check in. The instructions are being shared right now, as well as the check-in code. And for those of you that are just on the phone, the check-in code is 283185. All right, it looks like we've got most members checked in. So Karen, if we want to get started.
Hi, ladies. I am so glad to see you all here. First of all, I don't think there is a Junior League Zoom that I don't have one of my dogs make an appearance. This is Reggie, the newest baby. So say hi to Reggie. He's 3.5 months old, although he looks like a little old man because he's kind of getting really white hair up at his top. So I am really happy to be here tonight to talk to you guys about serving on the board. And let's see here. I'm your president, your current president as of June 1st. And my name is Karen Crnkovich. So if we haven't met, it's nice to meet you on Zoom. And let's see here. On the board of directors, I have served as director of training, director of fund development. I've been the board assistant, which is a board non-voting position, and then president-elect last year, and now president. And I've been in the league 16 years. Let's see, what else? I think that's it. Jamie, am I supposed to, are you having the other ladies who are?
Yeah, Catherine, if you want to go next with just kind of a quick intro. We'll just have everyone do their introductions and then start off with some of the sample questions.
Hi, I'm Katherine Schorgl. My first board position was actually back when we had a board of managers and an executive board. So it was the placement chairman, which sat on the board of managers. And then I was the first director of community impact when we started on our 10-year embarkation into children's literacy. And then I was president and president-elect. And I've been in the league longer than most of you have been alive.
Courtney?
Hi, I'm Courtney Raupp. I'm currently the director of membership, and this is actually my first year on the board, so I'll kind of serve as the resident newbie over here. And this is my 7th year in the league, and so far, I mean, all the kudos to Karen because it's been a great experience.
Susan?
Hi, I'm Susan Moss. I am the current director of finance. I've been in the league, I'm trying to do math, 16, 17 years. I always have to be prepped for that question, sorry, but it's been a while. Positions that I've held on the board of directors, I was the director at large of community outreach about 10 years ago-ish, maybe not that far. I think so, which doesn't exist anymore. It's kind of the positions for that have been rolled into other places. And more recently, I was the director of marketing twice and now the director of finance.
Ericka?
Hey guys, I'm Ericka Duker. I have been in the league, oh my gosh, it's been 15 years, 15 good years. I started out my board career as the director, step-up director of finance, and then I became the director of finance. And then I had the pleasure of being nominating chair. And then after that, my latest board stint ended last year and I was the director of planning. So I'm happy to be here tonight.
And Sarah?
Hi, ladies. I'm really glad you all joined tonight. My name is Sarah Dempster. I'm currently serving as the 2020-21 Director of Planning. Previously, 2 years ago, I served as the Director of Membership. So this is my second time serving on the board. And I joined the league, in 2007.
Awesome. So we'll just get started. We've got a few sample questions, just kind of a wide variety of topics. And then after we've gone through these, if anyone has any questions that you want to enter into the chat, or feel free to speak up. So first thing I've got on here is what got you interested in applying for a board of director position, and it kind of leads into how did you know when you were ready?
I'll go
I guess
first.
Karen, if you want to go start.
Sure. So I didn't know I was ready. And there's a few key takeaways that I'd like the ladies who are here tonight to learn to have. And the first one is you're never ready 100%. You kind of just have to have faith. The biggest thing is, do you have the bandwidth? Because serving on the board of directors, there's some time commitment, but it's, in my opinion, well worth the effort. In terms of why I first raised my hand, because I wanted to serve the league in a different level, and I wanted to understand what the board of directors did. To me at that time in my career, which was about 10 years ago, I felt very kind of nebulous as to what governance and what management was. And it wasn't until I actually sat on the board of directors that it all kind of just clicked with me. And then ever since then, my engagement in the league has been really, really high, regardless of what my other placements were. So hopefully that answered that question.
Catherine?
The way I got on the board was a little unusual. I did not self-submit for it. Someone that was in the role became critically ill and they had to fill it suddenly. So Laura Crow, it was my third active year. I never would have self-submitted for something so soon, but Laura Crow asked if I would do it. I did it. And from that, I learned that I was capable of a lot more than I realized. So it was a great growing opportunity, pushed me, stretched me. And I'm so grateful to her every day for her making that ask.
Courtney?
Yeah, it's a little bit the same as what Karen was saying. I didn't, I had always thought that at some point I would want to serve on the board, but it wasn't until somebody said, "Hey, are you going to go for a board position?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know. I'm kind of coming off of a really big year." We were right in the middle of Holiday Mart and last year, and I was chairing the event, and they said, "Well, just think about it." And I was like, "Yeah, it's coming up really soon. Oh, just think about it." And then I had a couple more people say, "Hey, are you thinking about doing this?" And the reason I keep saying that is because it's really important, I think, to tell people when you think that they would be good for a certain role, whether at the board or any other position within the league, because it's really powerful to have intelligent women that think highly of you, and it brings out something different in you, I think, and gives you a sense of feeling like, hey, yeah, this is something I can do. But like I said, I did know that I wanted to do it at some point, and the reason that I wanted to serve on the board is because I wanted to make an impact. I wanted to affect change, learn more about the league in general, and again, have the opportunity to work with other women who that deem this type of work important. Like I started staying home when my first was born, and this is a really great way for me to still use my brain and be a part of something bigger. So.
Susan?
Okay, so as far as how I knew when I was ready, I probably thought I was ready before I really was ready. Because I think everything you do, you learn more, and you get better. But I had a lot of great support early on, and some sustainer advisors that were rock stars and really would, promote me and make me feel good about myself and what I was doing. And just, meaningful positions and getting through them and feeling like I had success and, driving me to go further. What interested me in applying, really my love of the league, of our mission, for what we stand for, and just that desire to give back.
Ericka?
Yeah, so I don't know if I ever knew that I wanted to be on the board. I was pretty comfortable in the leadership positions that I was in the previous years before. I think I didn't apply to be on the board till I'd been in the league like 8 years, because I always used to tell people, when I grow up, I'll be on the board. So I didn't, like I said, it wasn't necessarily my heart's desire. One of the things, though, that kind of intrigued me is the year that I did decide to be on the board, I played it safe and I decided to be in a position that I knew, because finance is my background. So I was like, oh, okay, well, can't be too bad, right? I know finance, I know accounting. How difficult will it be for me to be assistant treasurer, step up director of finance? So that's kind of how I got to be on the board. And then after that, I just made great lasting friendships and relationships, and I wanted to be around these same women and, chart our course together throughout our league journey. And that's kind of how, sorry, my dog's going to be crazy. That's kind of how I decided to be on the board. Of course, making an impact and helping our community is one of the passions, but the camaraderie and the leadership development you get by being on the board of directors was one of the reasons that got me kind of hooked, like, oh, wow, I want to be a part of this.
Sarah?
So I work at an architecture firm, and just architecture in general. It's a pretty intense industry, and I knew I wanted an outlet that was outside my industry where I could focus my leadership efforts. So I thought that the Junior League was a great way to get involved. And so after a while, just seeing different leaders, mentor of mine at the office from Junior League was Gina. She had served on the board, so she had talked to me about it. It made me really excited about the potential of serving on the board. I also apparently have a big fear of not having enough to do, because the first time I applied for the board, I was 3 weeks out from my wedding and found out on my honeymoon that I had gotten director of membership. And then I applied for director of planning a month and a half after having my son. And so I think I just really like, one, having an outlet of super amazing, powerful women that, I can not only bounce, exciting ideas for the league off of, but just life things in general. Because I think that league women are so supportive of each other. And this is like something silly I've really noticed. Like, even on social media, like my league friends are the ones that are like, yay, way to go you, or yay, like, look at how exciting this is in your life. So I think it's just a really supportive group of women. And that's something that's motivated me to want to stay involved and also serve on the board.
Awesome. All right, next questions. So what's one thing you wish you knew before applying? And if people maybe aren't ready to apply, what are actionable things members can do this year or soon to prepare themselves if this year isn't the year for them? Karen, I think you're on mute.
I'm also, besides being on mute, I'm also having some internet connection issues. So I'm going to wiggle my monitor and I see people kind of moving. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, I have interviewed and not been selected. Shocking, right? No, I'm just joking. It happens. It happens where you go, you interview. Even if you think you gave a great interview, you very may well have. You could be very qualified. You could have some big leadership roles. But the thing that a lot of people don't really understand is that nominating committee has to put together a very intricate puzzle. And the puzzle has to be, usually is mixed up of members who are returning or have previously served on the board, members who are brand new board members. Then you've got the 2-year dynamic where we have possibly soon to be 4, 5 if you count president, 2-year placements, and breadth of experience, number of years in the league. Like, there are so many different factors. So the number one thing I want everyone to remember is, one, interview. Just go for it. If you think you have the bandwidth, even if you're not quite sure if you have the bandwidth, you probably do if you're questioning it. That's always somebody's probably going to shoot me and be like, are you crazy? I could see Sarah Dempster maybe saying that based on her answers before. But I feel like as busy women, when there are things that are important and meaningful to us, and especially in this time of our just society life where staying connected to a group of your cheerleaders is so important for everyone's mental health, and being involved in like at a high level helps you stay connected. But you may not be selected, and please don't take it personally. Like I said, I'm very happy to share that there were years that I applied for the board and was not selected. And the first time it happened, because it happened more than once, it hurt. But nobody had ever told me that there was a chance that I wasn't going to get it. I kind of just assumed that because I'd been a previous board member, because I had some pretty good depth of experience, that I would just be a shoo-in. And let me just state for the record, no one is a shoo-in. Nominating looks at everybody and their applications and the interview process kind of on an equal ground to make that puzzle. But if it's not your year, lick your wounds and then go find something that is completely different than what you have done that sounds interesting. I mean, even as president, I look through our resource allocation and I'm like, gosh, that's a really cool opportunity. Not that I'm gonna go back active after president. Let's all be clear that after I'm president, I will officially retire and go sustaining. But there are still opportunities that I'm like, I could see myself doing that. And so I really encourage you to look at the resource allocation list, our leadership booklet, our placement booklet. There are so many resources for you. And then talk to the women who have been in those positions, because that is the amazing thing with this organization, is that there is always a way for you to learn and grow and connect with other equally amazing women as you are.
Catherine?
I would echo everything Karen said and maybe add, as geeky as this sounds, I think one of the best way to prepare yourself, if you think you want to be director of membership, go to the bylaws and peruse them and really have a great sense of what the job entails, and then talk to the current director. I do think bandwidth is very important, to have a realistic sense of whether you have the bandwidth. Maybe pushing yourself a little, but I think the very worst thing you can do in volunteering is to take on a job and do it poorly. So would just say do all of your research to make sure you know what the job entails, it fits into your life, stretches you a little, but that you can do it well.
Courtney?
Yeah, one of the things that I wish that I would have known is if you do, you know, if and when you do become a part of the board, if that is what you did, that it's okay not to know everything. Like, I remember when I first like received it, I kind of like did what Catherine was just said. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to know everything. I have to have every answer. And so I am going, you know, and nobody has every answer, and like, that's okay. And you can bug your president all the time. That's what I do. And but no, in all seriousness, and that was also what I was going to say, things that you can do to prepare is do look over what each director does and go talk to those directors and familiarize yourself with what those jobs are, so that you are prepared in your interviews and things like that. So,
Susan?
Sorry, I was using the wrong mouse, so I was still muted. Things I wish I knew before applying. I think there's sometimes a common misconception that people think that you have to pick the one position you want and go for that. And if there's multiple things that you're willing to do, then it's important to keep your options, you know, open, because it's the nominating committee's job to look through and pick who's going to work together well in what positions. So, you know, I wanted to be the director of marketing for years, and I got put in a different position. I'm like, okay. And then the 1 year I didn't put director of marketing, I got it. So, you know, it just don't pigeonhole yourself and look at anything that you might want to do. As far as actionable things, you know, volunteer where you can, jump in, you know, give it your all and get all you can out of it. Do lots of trainings. You know, you have to do one, but everything you do, whatever you put in, you get back. So just, you know, jump in and do as much as you can. Meet other league members, you know, expand. Don't just talk to your regular people, and talk to as many as you have the time to talk to. And just look at other placements that you can do that add skill sets that you might not have, so you can just enhance what you've got.
Ericka?
Yeah, something I wish I knew. I'd say, how would I put this? I echo Susan, because there was a couple times actually, where I put in for something and I didn't get what I put in for. So me being the type A person that I am, I'm like Catherine. I go and I look at the bylaws for the stuff I'm interested in. I like meet with the people, talk to them, and get a better understanding of the role and what's going on. And I over prepare for that. And then when I don't get that, it's like, okay, well, clearly it's a good thing though, because clearly they see something in yourself that you may not necessarily have seen.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So I feel like it's sometimes a stretch opportunity for you to go ahead and do those roles that you may not have necessarily thought you could do. With respect to preparation, I kind of echoed it already. I'm a person that's like a planner, and I like to overly prepare. That's so I don't forget something. So I go to the bylaws, I look at the policies and things of that nature. I have lunch and talk to people about the position, and I've been blessed in that most of the roles I've taken, I've had people that I know very well in those roles before, so I can reach out to them and say, hey, I'm interested in being, like when I was nominating chair, I followed Catherine Fowler. So I mean, it was a good experience. Or when I was director of planning, I was able to reach out to Katie Warner, and we were able to have lots of good talks. And I followed Betsy Lynch as director of finance. And so I still have relationships with all of them, and I just felt comfortable talking to them. So never be afraid, even if you don't know the people, reach out to them, and just, you know, it may just be as an informal mentorship, like, hey, I kind of am interested in what you're doing. Can we sit down and have coffee? Everyone in the league, I've never had an experience where I asked to sit down with someone and they were like, no. And that's all I'll give for that one.
Sarah?
Yeah, I think you know, it's kind of been mentioned, but reaching out to people. I reached out to several sustainers before I applied for the board the first time, and these were directors that I had worked under or just members that I had worked somewhat closely with. So I knew I could trust their opinions, and I knew that they at least knew a little bit about me and could tell me what they saw that would make me potentially a good fit, maybe somewhere where I wasn't thinking, or maybe they were reaffirming something that I knew that I thought made sense for me. I also think it's important, as we talk about, you know, do you have the bandwidth? I think having a good support system at home is important as well. So, you know, if you're married or have a spouse, or have children, and, you know, making sure that they understand the commitment that you're making, not only to yourself and to the time commitment that you're making that commitment to people that are serving on your council, that you're going to be an active and willing participant in a relationship with those people, and that you need to be able to, you may not have all the answers, but you're going to be the person that helps them get those answers, and you're going to be their support system, so that hopefully someday they might feel like they're qualified and excited and want to serve the league in a different capacity. You know, whether it be on the board or in a leadership role or serving on a community committee when they've always done something related to in-league. So I think there's just a lot of ways that you have to consider how your own personal support system impacts how you support the members that serve under you.
All right, and the last question I have is, in what area did you grow most during your time on the board? So after this, we can open it up for other members to ask questions.
Oh my gosh. Well, after 4.5 years, not concurrent, I don't recommend that, please. But remember, your junior league journey is like this, not like this. I've grown in a lot of different ways, but I think the most profound way is just being able to have delicate and uncomfortable conversations that sometimes happen. And, you know, they happen at the committee level, they happen at the council level, they happen at the board level. And, you know, I have gotten a lot more comfortable with being uncomfortable, because generally speaking, I don't like confrontation. I'm the person who would never send back food unless it was like egregiously horrible. I would just kind of push it aside and not eat. At a
Karen, I
restaurant
have to chime in because when we had,
I sent back the salmon.
She had to send back the salmon because it was so undercooked. But that makes me laugh.
Sarah,
you felt so bad about it.
Like,
yes.
She can like attest, I was mortified, but I was like, there is no way I can eat this. Like, the salmon was like gonna come up and like lick me on the face. It was so raw. And I was not there for that at all. And Sarah knows that I really was like, well, maybe I won't say anything. Maybe I'll just push it around. And then she actually encouraged me to be brave. So that's where, you know, that's what makes the league special, is we all have our own superpowers. We all have things that we are great at. And oftentimes it's those people who are there in those moments when you have to send the salmon back and you really don't want to, that somebody's there to cheer you on and say, it's okay, you're paying for this meal, just send it back, stop being a fool. But that's going back to my original point, you know, just being able to call somebody up and say, hey, you know, I need to talk about, you know, I usually preface it by, I have a delicate thing that I need to talk to you about, or, you know, something that might be a tough conversation, but let's get through this together. I'm here for you. And just really kind of having that compassionate understanding, but not shying away from it. Because I think a lot of times when leaders shy away from uncomfortable conversations or things that, you know, just need to be addressed, it makes the whatever it is so much worse. And then because I was having internet problems, I realized that I didn't quite fully answer the question, what did I wish I had known before I joined the board the first time? And to echo several people, but with a little twist. I wish I would have known that I did not need to know it all at once, and that it was okay to feel dumb and like I wasn't sure. Like 6 months into the job, I still was like, I'm not sure what's here, you know, what am I supposed to be doing? What's consent agenda? What's not consent agenda? You know, am I supposed to bring a presentation? And that's where, you know, my current role as president, I try to really work hard at setting our board up for success by planning forward and saying, okay, here's what this meeting is going to look like. Here's where, you know, we think people will be on consent and where we're going to need a conversation. And so that's where I learned, because my first year on the board as director of training, I did kind of feel dumb until like 6 months into it, like December or January is when I finally was like, okay, I think I got this, but I'm not sure. But that's okay. And that's kind of the point of our organization, is to train our leaders. And so embracing that, going back to the uncomfortableness, embracing the uncomfortableness of not always knowing exactly what you're supposed to do, but knowing that there's a great support around you is priceless.
Catherine?
So I sit from the vantage point of having had the opportunity to watch Karen as a very young leader and watching her grow, and she was good from day one. But now it is such a joy to watch her and marvel at her leadership. We are so well served by you, Karen. You are just fabulous, and I love you. Okay, enough with that. Things that I learned as a director: how to facilitate a meeting really well. And it's been joyful to take what I learned in Junior League, because what our ultimate goal is to train you all to, you know, do your thing in Junior League, but then go out into the community and serve our community. So you can always tell a Junior League trained volunteer out in the community, because they've got an agenda. It runs on time. It's efficient. It's effective. The other thing I learned was Robert's Rules of Order, which that goes to being able to run efficient and effective meetings. Learned a lot about how to create policy, because that first year as the director of Impact, we were handed a dream with not a lot of bones to it, and we had to flesh it out and create all of the policy for that. And then I learned how to pivot pretty well, and no president, again, has ever had to pivot as much as Katie Warner and Karen with COVID. But it's one of those things that you just figure out, okay, so this person that is on your council that can't do their job anymore or isn't doing their job, how do we, you know, come up with plan B and make it work and make it not just work, but thrive? So those are my answers.
Courtney?
Yeah, I think I kind of spoke to this a little bit already. Not that I've ever been a shy person or afraid to reach out to anybody, but I do think that in my short stint, coming on 3 months now of being on the board, I would say that the area that I've grown in the most is that it's okay to reach out. Like I never like felt compelled not to reach out, because I knew that was the right thing to do, but like also just the validation that it's okay to reach out. And also too, coming off of Holiday Mart, where like things sometimes are super time sensitive, I felt like I always had to respond right away. And I feel, you know, like something would like fire at me and I'd be like, like right back, you know? And I think that I've grown in that area of like, it's okay to sit on something for an amount of time and think on it, reach out to people, get some opinions, if it's especially a year like this year where everything is different and everything's changing at rapid pace, because you want to make sure that you're, again, somebody else talked to this, that you're supporting your council members in the best way possible. And sometimes thinking on that for a little while is more important than them having an answer right away. So also too, sorry, and then I'll stop, the communication, and that is good too. Hey, I received this and I'm going to get you all the information that you need. Communication, communication, communication.
Susan?
I would say one of the things, I've got a few things here, but one of the things is that, you're always learning. Everything you do, you learn a little bit, but even in a position, I've been on the board several times, and especially in this environment, I'm an over planner. I like to have a PowerPoint for my meetings so people know exactly what we're talking about. And then somebody said, I really want to see people's faces. I'm like, okay, I need to pivot. So it's PowerPoint. PowerPoint faces, being sure you get a little bit of everything. So you're always learning and, getting better as you go. Also just understanding different members' perspectives. As a young leader, I probably didn't do that as much as I do now. And especially after having kids. And, Sarah was talking about how she took on a whole lot when she was director. The first year that I was marketing director, when I was step up, gotten engaged and married. Well, right when I took over, like the very first month as director, I had my first daughter. And then my step up ended up moving to Portland, and they asked me to do it again. And guess what? I got pregnant with my second kid. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I definitely understand those perspectives from personal experience too, but everybody's in a different place and you just need to be able to work with that. And then just if you want to get something done, it helps if you, lay the groundwork. You may have a fabulous idea, but if you don't get everybody else on the board, on your team, and the membership too, you're not going to be successful in your initiative. So you have to take that into play too.
Ericka?
Yeah, so one of the key things, critical things I've learned about being on the board of directors is being inclusive and making sure the board really teaches you how to listen to all perspectives and be able to translate them into some type of workable plan. That's whether you're leading your council or sitting in the boardroom. You really learn how to listen with intensity and intently and purpose and intention. And one of the things I would say as far as positions I've grown from every single position that I've been in, even in director of finance. I mean, the way a nonprofit handles finances is slightly different from the way a corporate center or corporate function does that. So that was a skill set I picked up. Being in nominating definitely taught me how to have those critical and crucial conversations, because you do have conversations with people. Say, for instance, if they don't get a board position, you're the one delivering that information and being able to be okay and objective and fact-based as to why you made your decision. So that was definitely growth for me. And that actually translated into my career when I have to have difficult conversations with employees. And then last but not least, I think the position I grew the most from was planning. And the reason I'll say that, Sarah, is because I'm directing this to you because you're in that right now. I'm a very black and white person, being in finance and accounting. And so I feel like the answer should always be there. And with planning, the answer is not always there. It's very much strategy focused and, looking outside of the big picture, looking at the forest and both the trees and taking that into consideration. And what I will tell you is, holding a strategy focused position like that and dealing with all that ambiguity and still coming up with work, and Susan can attest to that. I mean, it makes you a more well-rounded leader, both in league and in my career. It's funny because now I lead a strategy function in telecom in the HR space. And I don't know if I necessarily would have had the confidence to do that if I hadn't gone through the throes of being in planning and not having like the exact roadmap or plan spelled out for me, and me having to help chart the course with my council leaders. And Amy's on here, so she was on my council. She can attest to that. It was a new skill set I gained. Each and every time I've been on the board, I've gained a new skill set, and I make sure that I've learned from it and I put it into practice in my career.
Yeah, so I'll chime in about serving as the director of planning when I've never sat on planning before this year. So, that's one thing that I can definitely say that I'm growing, and it's a process. And this has been a big year already for planning. We came in knowing that this is our year that we review and eventually we'll propose a new strategic plan. We're in the process of hopefully adding a diversity, equity, and inclusion board member at the September GMM. So there's been a lot of groundwork that's gone into that. And so I think I'm trying to, learn a lot about what planning does while I'm serving as the director. And in the league, you know what? Like, that's okay. Because this is a training organization. And I think that's something that's been so special this year is that I feel like I have a lot on my plate, but I've never been made to feel like a complete idiot, even though when I'm not totally sure 100% what I'm doing. And so I think Karen knows that I've asked her a million questions. Courtney and I have had conversations. But honestly, at the end of this, like, this will be a great way for me, again, kind of as a process and task-driven person, kind of like maybe like Ericka, you were saying, to step outside the box a little bit and think about things from a different perspective. And I think the other thing, the area where you grow on the board is you just grow relationships in general with people in the league. And like, not every board is super close, and not every board is social, and not every board, is not everyone's necessarily going to jive with each other. But I think every year that you serve on the board, and I think this year has been really, really special for me, you are going to meet some amazing women that you're really going to bond with. And so I think that's one way that you can really grow, because you're getting to be around some really cool women. And I mean, the board retreats, both board retreats I've been on, like for the two boards I've served on, were both phenomenal. And I've made lifelong friends from it. So.
Wonderful. All right. Are there any other questions that you guys may have for our panel members?
You guys are so talkative. Here's some things to think about. I always like to leave with takeaways, right? The first one is, if you think you want to be on the board, then figure out what the requirements are, meaning sitting on a council. Make sure that you put yourself in a position to sit on a council so you can be eligible. Even if it's something that you think, oh, well, that's 4 years down the line, or I've got to get through, I've got to finish grad school first, and then I want to go on the board. The sooner you're eligible, the sooner you have the opportunity to interview. To interview, make sure Catherine's point is spot on. Don't overextend yourself. We have all, if you've served on the board at least once or more than once, we've had years where we overextended ourselves, and it's not fun. It kind of sucks the joy away from it a little bit when you feel like there's just too much going on. But speak to the director, because different board positions have a different workload. And some of those workloads are kind of ebb and flow. Some of them are really kind of heavy at the front and then a little bit easier at the end. So speak to the directors and see, find out what that workload is and what it looks like, and if it meets and matches with what you think the future is going to be. I say think because we all know firsthand that we don't know what the future looks like. We certainly couldn't have predicted that things would be the way they are now. But being flexible and just trying to have fun. I mean, Sarah and Susan have said some really kind things. Courtney has said some really kind things about our board this year. We do have a really, I think, close-knit group of women who are having fun with each other, even though we're in a pandemic. And I think that was by design, the universe saying that, we're going to need to bond and really gel, because there's something that is going to be a lot of heavy work for us to kind of carry, at least through the first 6 months. And so it does help to have those relationships. But the relationships that I've made with this board and previous boards are lifelong friends. Lifelong friends. And then if you interview, it's okay to be sad if you're not selected, but please don't take it personally. And if it's the kind of thing where you do have a mentor in the league, and I always put this out there, and very few people actually take me up on it. So that's why I'm like, I'm never afraid to say, I'll be your mentor. I'll have a cup of coffee with you. I'll do a Zoom with you and talk through, okay, so you didn't get it. What's the next step? What's a great next step for you? And I'm always happy now and forever to help talk through that with any junior league members, because I'm here in this role because I love you. I love our organization, but I love you. The women of our organization is what makes Junior League of Kansas City, Missouri so absolutely phenomenal. So there were, I think I said 4, maybe 5.
We did have one question come in through the chat. So for the board positions that don't have a step up, is there an unofficial prerequisite that you recommend we have prior to applying? For example, director of training has no step up. Is it a prereq to have led the training committee?
No. And Susan made a really great point, and I want to really reiterate this. It is best when you're applying for the board to really look at critically what are the things that are just absolutely, there's no way you would want to do it in a million years, and only put those as no and put everything else as yes. The more open you are, because I did not put director of training the first year I applied as kind of like, I guess I'll do that. I'd never been on training. I had no idea what training was about, but guess what? I learned. And I think that, and I made mistakes that year, and it's okay to make mistakes. It's why we're a training organization. But there are no prerequisites to apply for the board other than be board eligible by serving in a leadership role on council. So say yes to everything. Be a yes person.
I have a question that kind of ties into that. If you were torn in positions, more so in something that you have experience in your career, you have experience more so in the league, so you can serve the league better on the board in a position that you have more experience in, or you're interested in a position that you would like a career in, you would like more experience in, to see if that's kind of a career path direction and more of a training element for yourself, which would be better for a person to serve the league on the board doing?
Does somebody else want to take that answer?
I can take this one.
Okay.
I would say, well, for me, Addie, I played it safe and did what was in my career first. And that kind of, made me more comfortable. I don't think that there's any rhyme or reason. Like, if there's something that you potentially could be interested in from a career perspective, go for it, because you have such a supportive room of women that are there to help you and to answer any questions. And there's such a large network of former directors that are there for you to reach out to. I wouldn't shy away. If it's something I really wanted to do and something I wanted to get my feet wet in, I will go for it. Don't always play it safe is what I'm trying to say.
And I would
For
chime
sure.
in, and you just put down both. I mean, like that you're open to both, because part of the puzzle may be that they need you to be in one role more than the other. So it may work out in the best interest of the league for them to put you in option B when maybe you really want option A, but you're open option B. Just put down both and see where you land, because either way, it's going to be an awesome experience and you're going to learn so much. So.
What she said. Let nominating figure it out. That's the thing, is it's not for any of us. Abby Moog is on, she's on the call, and she's on nominating. She gets to just have a vote. But everybody else, when you're interviewing, it's really not for you to decide or determine what your path is. It's for you to be as open as possible to what the options are, and then let nominating say, you know what, we really think you would be fantastic at this role.
I would say I never really had a career path in junior league per se. I always kind of floated through opportunities presented to me, things that interested me at the time, and I was never bored. I always was stretched and found something fulfilling, and it was always a great experience. So Never limit yourself by what it is you think you want. Let the sorting hat that is nominating take what you think you want and let the puzzle pieces fall where they may and just roll with it. It's the greatest opportunity. It's such a great thing to be in junior league, both from personal, professionally, and from a community standpoint. I hope you all are enjoying it as much as I have.
Are there any final questions?
If someone decides to apply for the board, what can they do aside from, studying up on the positions and knowing what they're getting themselves into? What can they do to really set themselves apart in the interview section and just being prepared and from the application standpoint?
Okay, I'll go again. One, know your mission. Please go to the interview. You will be asked, what is our mission? So know that. That's probably a really good one to start with. Know your why. Have a solid reason why you're there. Because I believe that the years that I interviewed where I had a rock solid why, I was like, this is why I'm here. It's this, blah, 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 are the years that they found a place for me in the puzzle. And the years that I kind of went there, and this is on, I'm just being authentic, the years I went and interviewed because I felt like it's what I should do rather than what was really in my heart, are the years that I didn't get selected. And then my feelings were hurt. And then I got over it and found something great. But that's truth, right? We do that sometimes. We go in and we kind of put half of our heart into something. And then when we're not selected, or like, well, why wasn't I selected? What was wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with me. It wasn't my year to do whatever that role is that I was applying for. So really go in with, excitement, be prepared to ask questions or answer questions. I think that and Abby, you can chime in on this, you still have to write a letter and then also talk about some competency areas that you have. We're still doing that. So, put some thought into it. Turn your application in on time. That's important. You'd be surprised that I need to say that, but it's true. And I don't know, just give it your best foot forward.
I would say take advantage of the training. I'm speaking to the choir because you're here, but you're required what, one? Is that right, Karen? One training a year? But there's so many amazing trainings offered. So take advantage of as many of the trainings that will help build you as a leader and articulate that to nominating.
And if there's one position that really stands out, or if there's two or three, going in with some ideas that you have, things that you've observed, like I've observed this, and here's how I think that I might be able to affect change in a positive way. Not everything always needs to be changed, but if there are positive ways to change things, then I think that's always helpful too in the interview process. Ericka, you're nominating former chair. What else haven't we hit?
I mean, I think we've hit it all. When you get in that room, just be yourself. That's one thing I would say that we haven't heard tonight. Make sure that you're authentically you. Don't try to answer the questions with what you think the nominating committee would like to hear, but speak from who you really are, because we feel it. We can tell when someone's being canned or coached in their interview. We want you to, sell yourself in a way that's who you really are, because that's what's going to get you slated in one of the positions. And don't be afraid, I'd say, to answer the questions, to provide real examples in to the answers of the questions, tangible results, actions, things of that nature, because that lets the committee know, hey, you're here for it, and you have, even if you don't have experience in a said position, you could garner off experience that you've had in outside boards or outside jobs you've had.
I guess Karen or Abby, when are applications due?
October 9th. And you should have received, if you are board eligible, you should have received your email, I believe last week or maybe the end of the week before. So when we met as a committee last week, we had not had any applications yet. So please apply and encourage your friends too.
Those come in later, Abby. They never come in right away.
I'm pretty sure I put mine in at like 11:50 on the deadline for planning. I was like, should I don't know.
I'm glad you did there, Dempster. To get to be our planning director through a pandemic.
Yay, plan away, right?
Woo.
Well, thank you all so much for attending. I feel like it was really insightful and good to get some questions answered.
Are we
All right,
finished?
I think
Thanks,
that's
ladies,
it.
for showing up.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a great night.